Okay, so look what he said. לעולם לא יאכל אדם אלא כשהוא רעב. We're starting now. When is a person should eat? Start with food. And the Rambam say, only when a person is hungry, he should eat. Then he say, לא ישתה אלא כשהוא צמא. A person should not drink only when he's thirsty. ואל ישהה נקביו אפילו רגע אחד. אלא כל זמן שצריך להשתין או להסך את רגליו, יעמוד מיד. Listen what he said. A person should not delay going to the toilet. Not even for 1 second. לא לרגע אחד. And if a person need to go to the toilet, to do small, immediately you should go. Okay. This sounds nachon pashut? Where did the Rambam learn that? Where you think that the Rambam took all of those halachot before we continue?
He was a doctor.
He was a doctor. Do you agree with him? Steve, do you agree?
But he's a doctor.
Akon here.
And his order would seem right, but no, it's not.
You agree with him or not? Because he was a doctor?
He's a doctor.
No, but you don't understand my question. Did he have a source for it or not?
Yes, he had it from the medical knowledge that he had.
From the medical knowledge. Okay. Anyone doesn't agree with Stephen and Norman?
I'm understanding that the Rambam only became a doctor when he was 52. Until then,
I'm not sure about the age, that I'm not sure. But he got much later age, yeah? So what are you trying to tell me?
Until that age, he had an agreement with his brother David that the brother worked and he would learn Torah, and they shared the.
So I'll explain that theory.
Everybody has to remember there were no diagnostic tools in those days, such as X-ray machines,
Okay.
etc. So how did they
Now that's what I waited. So you don't agree with him? Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, that someone doesn't agree. Okay, I'll explain what Philip say, and then I'll go to what Meshkala say. Okay, what Philip say, the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, have a brother David. David was a businessman. David, his brother, was a big businessman. He used to have few ships that he used to hire, and with those ships, he used to go overseas from Egypt, and he used to buy a lot of merchandise, and then he used to bring it and sell it. And people used to give him their money, and he basically used to be what we call, the agent? Is that the right word to say? He was an agent for them. And that's how he used to run the business. So, what's happened? One day, David died, lo alenu, the ship is sunk, and he lost all of his money, everything that he had. And the people that given him the money came to the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon. And he have to leave his study because he have agreement, Zevulun ve'Yisachar, that what we're going to learn, please God, this Shabbos, I'm going to explain that, please God, that Rabbi Moshe going to learn, the Rambam, and David going to do the business, and they're going to share because he's going to pay him for study. So he can make a living. Lo aleinu, the ship sank, David ben Maimon died, and here come the people, we want our money. So Rambam have to leave his study. He was a lot in pain because he lost his brother. Now he have to leave the Torah and start working, and he have to pay it. In the end, he pay it all. That's what Philip tried to say, that he become a doctor much later. But it's not exactly. I'm sorry to disappoint you, because I explained it now. The Rambam say that he got all of his chokhmah. Rabotai, listen to what I'm saying. All of his chokhmah, you know from where? From the Torah. And he said that all his knowledge as a doctor, astronomer, Rabotai, mathematician, everything that you can name almost, he got from the Torah. And he said, whatever I learned, it was just the starters, like a person start his meal, they have the starters. That's what he called all the other profession that he have. He doesn't even consider it as a meal. Okay? Now let's go to what Meshkala said. Mesh said that in the olden days, When we're talking about olden days, Rabotai, imagine 900 years ago,
Thousands of
1,000
years.
years ago, but let's go to the Rambam time. The Rambam lived 900 years ago, and he didn't have the diagnosis that they have. So how he used to cure people, you know how? By looking at the person, if you look the history, and by the urine. Looking at the urine, or smelling the urine. That's the Rambam, how he used to do his diagnosis. Let's carry on one step.
Sorry, Rambam is one more.
Whoa. If you give me 1 second, I'll answer you again, because otherwise I lose track. So the Rambam say that you know where I got it? So I tell you. It say here, הואיל והגוף טוב, okay, והיותו בריא, then he said downstairs the explanation, the translation. Where did I got all of those sources? מסכת ברכות, גמרא מסכת ברכות, פרק הרואה. Then he carry on, גמרא מסכת שבת, פרק יראה. פרק מפנים, פרק המוציא, בבא בתרא, פסחים, גיטים, כתובות, all different sources where the Rambam actually got all of that knowledge. Can you believe it? So the Rambam took all of his knowledge, you know, from where? From our Torah. Okay, now you can ask.
An example, when you make a meter, you tell exactly how many organs there are in the human body. Now, how did they know it in those days? Because they didn't dissect cadavers like you did hundreds of years later.
Okay, we said that in the Meshiberach, you remember every morning, every Monday and Thursday, we say Ramah Evarim v'Shisa Gidin. נכון? When we say Meshiberach for a sick person, that he should have a full health. Beramah Evarav v'Shisa Gedav. How did, what Mesh asked, how did I know that? Because our Torah tells us everything. So now what the Rambam say, that let's go back to the Rambam. A person, if he need to go to the toilet, he must not wait for 1 second. Today,
before you daven, before you daven and you feel you have to go to the toilet,
you must. Why? Because we have a mitzvah. Mitzvat aseh min haTorah lo teshaketzu. נכון? That's what you're referring. What it means lo teshaketzu? That the person should not keep inside the body what we call it the psolet. Psolet is the garbage that you have to take out. Also, a person should not keep even small inside his body. That's considered mitzvat aseh min haTorah. But the person should not keep anything himself from going to the toilet. So before a person starts davening, it's a mitzvah, Rabotai, to go, to clean himself, and then to start davening. And if he suddenly, during the davening, he feel like that he need to go to the toilet, he's not allowed to keep it. He must take his tefillin off, go to the toilet, and then come back to daven. Look what's the Humrah. So the Rambam come and tell us, Lo yashhene kavav afilu rega ahad, not even 1 second, not to keep it inside. Now, there is a doctor here. Why are we not allowed to keep, let's speak about urine, to keep the urine inside. Doctor, can you help us? What does it cause if you keep the urine? Where does it start hammering? The prostate, am I right? You agree with me? When we delay going to the toilet, where does it start affecting? The prostate. Can you believe it? 900 years ago. No equipment, no measuring tool. You agree with me, Mesh? Nothing. How did Hazal knew that? How did our sages knew that? Tell you how.
How many organs are we talking about? The number the same as the mitzvahs.
Nachon? Nachon?
630.
Why? Because there is Ramah Evarim v'Shisa Gidim. Together, if you join them, together it's 613 mitzvot. Nachon? Yofi. But how did I knew that? So the Rambam said, Pashut, I learned that from the Gemara. So what are we learning from him before I continue? That everything comes from our Torah. Let's move on. לעולם יוכל אדם עד שתתמלא כרסו, אלא יפחות כמו רביע בזרועתו. What it means? that when a person eats, how much he should eat? What's the quantity? Do you have any idea, Rabotai? Here I tell you the quantity that the person should eat in a meal.
Kazait. Kazait.
Rafi said kazait. I don't think so. Listen what he said. Ad shetimale kerso. What does it mean ad shetimale kerso? Until his tummy is full. But, listen what he said. Ela yifhot kemo ravia. That means that how much does the person need to eat to get full? Every person knows, some people eat one roll, they get full. Some people eat 1 kilo of steak is not enough. Do you know what I'm saying? So he say, if you know that you need, for example, a kilo, eat a kilo of steak if that's what you get to use. But don't eat a full kilo. Eat 3/4. That means eat 3/4 of it. Why? Leave space. Why?
To digest.
To digest, because it's helping the stomach to what? No, Hilton. No, but I hear your comments. I want to hear. Because when you eat too much, the stomach gets full. Then it's... What? Swell, nachon? And then it takes a long time for the acid inside the stomach to start breaking the food. So the stomach takes a long time actually.
Rabbi, that's also why you don't have milk after meat. Because the digestive process takes 7 hours if you have milk.
6.
Well, approximately. And
Okay.
4 hours if you don't.
Okay, now let's go on. Then listen what he said. Velo ishte, a person not allowed to drink water, בתוך המזון, אלא מעט ומוזג yain. A person should not drink water. He doesn't talk about Coke or Fanta. He doesn't talk about those full of... Okay, they're going to sue me, so I better keep my mouth quiet. They don't talk about any cold drink. They talk about water. Don't drink water immediately after you finish to eat. What you should drink? A little bit of wine. Why wine? Now let's go one step ahead. Why dafka wine? Rabotai.
It helps the digestion.
It helps the digestion. What else? There is one very important thing that the latest statistics show, and all the article, the medical articles show that wine, what do? No. Listen here. Cholesterol. What does it do to the cholesterol? It's lower the cholesterol. And they done a statistic in France that the amount of people that suffer from cholesterol in France, it's much less than the rest of the world. You know that? Did you know that? Why? Because they drink a lot of wine with their meal.
And so do the Italians.
I read about France, but maybe the Italian. You know, I'm not a great reader, but the little bit that I read, that's what I say. And then, what did he say then? וכשיתחיל המזון להתעכל, when the food start to get digested, listen what he said, במעיו, inside his stomach, שותה מה שהוא צריך לשתות. He must drink whatever he need to drink. מה שהוא צריך לשתות. The quantity that you need to drink, you must drink. How long does it take a meal to digest?
4 hours.
Huh?
4 5 hours.
4 or 5 hours, Mark. Any other opinion? David said 12.
6 or 7.
6, 7. Wow, so many opinions. Good.
Hour.
Huh?
1 hour.
1 hour. Rafi, 1 hour.
Depends on what you
Leo, 1 hour.
Depends on what food it is.
Huh?
It depends on what you eat.
Yeah, average meal. Average meal. A person eat a meal. We're talking about a decent meal.
8 hours.
So now the meat take longer, yeah. But the average meal. So we'll see that the Rambam say that, now we'll see what the Rambam say, that the person should sit, okay, should rest after he eat, at least for approximately 2 hours before we start doing after a meal. Okay, let's carry on. And then he said, Le'olam, forever. I'm just making the thing shorter, I'm jumping, I'm skipping. Le'olam, כשיאכל אדם יישב במקומו או יתה על שמאל. when a person, whenever he eats, he should sit or he should lean to his left, if he can. So what do you do with takeaway? People that takeaway, when you go, look, I can't mention non-kosher, so we'll mention kosher place like Mivami that sell, or RTG that sell fast food. You can't stand and eat. You have to sit, eat your meal, and if you can, lean to your left.
Why?
Why? Okay, why? Why to the left? Why do we do it on
Because
Pesach?
Pesach, yeah.
Yeah, but why dafka that? What will we explain on Pesach? Why
But it
dafka to
goes-
the left?
But it goes easier down.
Huh?
You said that it was
Bnei Horim, no, but here's not Bnei Horim.
like royalty.
Like royalty we explain, but what the other explanation that we gave? What's on the left?
Windpipe.
Heart.
Pipes, it opens it.
You're going to choke.
Oh, did you hear what he said?
Okay,
Very good, Stevie.
But when you sit up straight, then
Sorry.
what?
No, when we say leaning to the left, what he means that it's easier when you eat, there is less chance that you can choke. You understand? If you lean to your right and you eat, there is more chance that you will choke. Nachon, Stephen? Nachon. Do you understand why? Okay. Sorry? David didn't understand, so I didn't explain myself properly.
I understand what you said, but it still doesn't explain why.
Because on your left there is kaneh vaveshet. What it means? There is a pipe. There is on the left hand side. There is a pipe on the body that help you to swallow things. So it's easier when you eat, to swallow and to digest. Has v'shalom. If that food will go to the right side of the pipe, it's two pipes.
It goes in your lungs.
And it can, has v'shalom, cause a person to choke. Lo aleinu. Okay?
Rabbi, they say that if you're right-handed, you eat more on the right-hand side than if you're left-handed.
No, that's not true. I never heard that.
It's not true.
We have a doctor here. Are you agree with that, doctor?
If you right-handed,
We're talking about the right-hand side and the left-hand side pipe that the person have. Now, the left-hand side pipe is to digest, nachon? You know about it. It's helping us. He said that, but if you're a left-hander or right-hander, it's turn around. I never heard about it. I don't think that in medical term it's true. In medical term it's not true. I don't think that it's so true. But let's carry on. Now listen to that. Velo ya'alech, a person not allowed to eat and eat. Not only that, velo yirkav, and that time they have horses. So he says you should not ride any animal that you can ride on it. But listen what he says now. Velo yezazea gufo. That means that he must not shake his body while he's eating. Not only that, okay, velo yetayel, a person not allowed to start walking, even that he's finished his food, until עד שיתעכל המזון שבמעיו. That means until the food got digested inside his stomach.
but what happens?
How long does it take? Around 2 hours.
What happens like after Shabbos, like when you walk your guest out or your guest is leaving?
Okay, so to walk your guest up, that's not considered as a walk. You walk to the door. You don't walk with them. And usually, after a meal, when you have guests, you usually already been sitting for an hour, hour and a half during the meal.
Yeah, but then once you finish,
So you finish, it's finished. The food is already digested.
like
Because,
dessert, and then you go and sit for another 2 hours.
you know, Baruch Hashem in South Africa, we're very privileged. In many countries, you know what they do? They eat, they have one meal. If they have that, they eat and they start walking out. Here we start very nice food. We start with the starters, then we have soup. After the soup, we have salad. After the salad, the main meal. And then you have dessert. And after dessert, you have tea and coffee. So by that time, believe me, the food is already fairly digested.
So is it like saying like your
What,
main course?
what the Rambam talking about, you go to Mivami. You eaten your meal. Whatever you want to eat. You eaten a shawarma or falafel, whatever. And immediately, you finish to eat, you bench. Obviously, you have to bench. Nahon, you agree with me?
Yeah.
You don't run straight back to class. You follow, Rafi? You like it, huh? Okay.
Rabbi, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Should I walk back?
How come a lion will eat until he can hardly move, and then he'll go to sleep? And the human being can do the same. Because the lion's got a longer digestive system, he actually sleeps.
Okay, so
Like a bear can sleep for 6 months.
you understand the difference between us and an animal. You know, I read the other day because I'm preparing show. Remember we spoke that I'm going to bring science into the Torah. We're going to prove that today what the scientists find, they're proving whatever the Torah, they're not proving it. They're giving a reinforcing that our Torah is came from heaven, that it's true. So I was reading about the animal that called hyena. You know, there's 3 different hyena, mainly 3 different hyena, the spot, the brown, and the striped hyena.
Yeah.
So you know that the acid that they have in the stomach, after they're eating, and you know those hyena, usually 2 of the hyena, they're mainly scavenger. All of them the scavenger, but the spotted hyena also hunt. But it showed, one of the articles show, one of the explanation, how can they eat so much and the food actually get dissolved so quick? He said that the juices that they have, the acid that they have inside their stomach, it's so strong that it actually can break almost anything.
That's why he has to have it, because he eats bones.
Oh,
That's why
you see?
Bones.
Because he eat
Acid.
bones.
Yes.
Now to take that bone, to perish that bone, to cause it to disappear,
High acid.
you need a high acid.
He's also going to
Now not only that,
That's the bone called.
you missed one thing. What did you miss? The saliva.
Yeah, but
The saliva that he have in his mouth, beside the acid inside the stomach, the saliva help to break all of that food. You understand the difference?
And usually why people sleep afterwards or they're eating is because your sugar level goes up.
Okay, the sugar level drop down, especially after meat, drop down. You understand? So it's very good to eat a little bit of sugar. Baruch Hashem in South Africa, we have dessert after, so it's not a problem. But you can feel after you eat a heavy meal of meat, your sugar drop. I tell you about me. I can't eat heavy red meat. If I eat red meat, I become a question mark. It's like I finish a bottle of wine. Why? Because my sugar level is low. Now I eaten more meat, it's dropped completely down. I become shake. I become completely finished papalas. You know what is it, papalas, Shimon? That's how I feel after a steak, if I eat a steak, a red steak. Okay, but let's carry on, Rabotai. I know that it's interesting, but let's do one more thing. V'kol ha'metayel. And now he explained, after you finish a meal, what's happening. כל המטייל אחר אכילתו, או שיגע, הרי זה מביא על עצמו חלאים רעים וקשים. That the person that start walking after his meal, or start working, okay, and he start get sweating, bring on himself חולאים. What it mean חולאים? Sickness. רעים וקשים. What it mean רעים וקשים? Bad, and what it mean kashe? No? Kashe what?
Serious.
Hard sickness. What it mean hard sickness? That it's difficult to cure them. So from here we understand after you eat, you must not walk. You understand? Let's carry on. Now we speak about the day and the night. Hayom ve'alayla kavdalet sha'ot. The day and the night together, the 24 hours. די לו לאדם לישון שליש שהוא 8 שעות. It's enough for the person to sleep 1/3 of the day. What is 1/3 of the day? 8 hours. Listen to that. So from here we learn how many hours a person should sleep a night. Let's carry on. When is a person should sleep? Which part of the night you should sleep? ויהיה בסוף הלילה. It should be towards the end of the night. Why? כדי שתהיה מתחילת שנתו, that means that when he starts sleeping, עד שתעלה השמש, that means that when the sun starts rise, he should wake up with sunrise. Not to wake up, not to sleep early at night and to wake up in the middle of the night. A person should sleep maximum 8 hours. Rabotai, that's almost 900 years ago. Listen to this chokhmah. What did he say? ונמצא עומד ממיטתו קודם שתעלה השמש. That means that he stand up when? Just before sunrise. He's get ready for what? To daven. Let's carry on.
Rambam, why do you
Sorry?
Why do you assume that the 8 hours, that's medically correct?
Oh.
You say 900 years ago.
I tell you something, you know, when I was in the army, you're going to laugh now. I was in the army, when I done my training, I gone to a special unit. And one of the things that we knew, that we have to sleep, they cannot let us sleep 6 hours. Minimum 6 hours. The army have to give us 6 hours. At that time, I didn't understand, you know. And many years later, I asked myself, why 6 hours dafka, minimum? And I spoke to a doctor. We have a doctor in a base, because I move a unit. And that doctor told me that the minimum that the body need is 6 hours. I asked him why. He couldn't really explain to me why, medically. Today they can't explain why 8 hours or 6 hours. Nachon?
But 6 and 8 is different. It's
Minimum, maximum. No. Minimum 6, maximum 8. Sorry, I didn't explain myself.
Say maximum.
Maximum 8 hours. Maximum 8. Minimum 6, not less. We're talking about normal human being. You know, not people that sick, people that have problem. Remember, you know when I found out? I found out because I spoke to Meish. Meish, it was 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago, let's call it. And I start researching why a person have to sleep for this much. So the answer came from an article that I read, and then I look at it inside what the Torah says. And you know what is it? According to spiritual thing, what's get tired? The body get tired after a hard day? Or the brain? You said the brain. Okay?
Body.
The body.
Body.
Body. What else? But after a hard day of work, don't you feel like
The liver.
so it's the body
And the brain.
and the brain. So we have 3 opinions. Body, brain, the body and the brain. Stephen? The neshama. That's it. To understand that, I heard the shi'ur of Rav Zamir Cohen. Rav Zamir Cohen say, you take the cell phone. When the battery die, is the cell phone die? No, the cell phone is not dying. The battery is dead. Put another battery, it will work. Charge the battery. If you charge it for 2 minutes, you put it on, it will work for 2 minutes. He didn't explain that like that, but I'm just giving the analogy. But the neshama after a day, that being the mind working, the brain working non-stop, people have to focus on whatever. They need to charge that battery. They need minimum 6 hours, maximum 8 hours to give the body to complete rest.
Rabbi, the brain, during your sleep, there's all stages of sleep, and it has to absorb everything that's been going on during the day. And that's where the neshama comes in.
So we're going to make a shi'ur about dreams. When the Gemara tell us in Masechet Brachot, Perek HaCholem, what it means, Perek HaCholem? That they speak about dreams. When is a true dream that you dream at night? And when is not true? There is part of the time at night what you're dreaming, that's true. But there is some time that you dream and you get nightmare. Do you know that? We all know that. Sometimes we get nightmare in the dream, you know. We see the Hezbollah coming to commit suicide, Al-Qaeda. I don't want to say what else, you know. But you understand what I'm talking about. Where does that come from? Please God, I'll explain that when we get to there.
Rabbi, there's a very important thing to mention. A third of a person's life
Nachon?
If you sleep 1 hour less a day, 1 hour less than your normal, you actually live 7 years longer wake-up time.
Yeah, but the difference is,
No,
the
no,
different...
hang on, I didn't say your
the same
effectiveness.
years.
I didn't say your effectiveness.
No.
If you get maximum sleep of 8 hours, you're maximally effective.
Yeah.
But you can gain the other one, but it does make you more effective.
You know, I met a guy, and I said to him, you know, on Shabbos, he said to me, you know, I sleep. I'm like a bagel. I said, what do you mean like a bagel? I didn't understand, you know. In South African term, bagel have a lot of meaning when you say about the person. He said to me, Rabbi, I sleep like a bagel. I said, what do you mean? He said, I sleep full 24 hours on Shabbos. I said, how do you do that? I can't understand that. He said, neither do I. I said, you don't wake up? He said, yeah, I wake up here to go to the toilet. I have a glass of water. I'm just finished. From Friday night, I put my head. I can sometimes wake up at 5 o'clock. I said, how do you do that? A bagel, he said to me, a full bagel, full run. But it's not healthy, Rabota.
I want to ask you a question. The rugged shoulder,
The Ragachovas.
the rugged shoulder, used to tie his hair to the rafter so that if he fell asleep, he would wake up.
Okay. Stop here. Wait, let me explain that. Let me explain the Ragachova. I know where you're going. Rabotai, the Ragachova, what you forgot to mention, where he used to put his feet? Cold water. So the Ragachova have a long hair. The Ragachovas. But you see, those different kind of powers that we don't have. He used to tie, he have a long hair, he used to have a tie, and he used to tie it to the korah. The korah is the beam on top of his house. And if he fall asleep like this, if he starts, namnamim we call it in Hebrew, you start falling into the, you start dozing. As you start dozing, you know, so you put your head down. Immediately the wire that been touched, together with his hair, that he tied to his hair, will pull him up, to wake him up. Not only that, he put his feet in cold water. That's the Ragachova.
But why?
Why?
So that he studies, that he doesn't miss
So he
study.
didn't sleep 8 hours a day.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But the difference between them and us, we are normal human beings. Those was angel. That's what he was, the Ragachova. And you and me, simple person. Now David asked why. David,
Was it to study or something?
just to study. But listen to me. To become so holy, you have to pure the body. Not everyone can be the Ragachova. By the way, the Rambam wrote that. I didn't want to mention that. But if you read what the Rambam wrote in his book, by the time, after he used to finish in the house of the Sultan to work as a doctor, when he used to come home, used to be a queue. Listen to that, Rabotai, queue of people, and he never used to charge money. And it doesn't make a difference if there was, because we're talking about Egypt. That's where he worked as a doctor. Used to be a queue of Jewish people and non-Jewish people that he used to queue. And he said, by the time that I'm climbing into my bed, I'm hardly doing it. And you know how many hours he used to sleep?
5 hours.
If he slept 3-4 hours, it was good. But that's the Rambam. That's where they get. That become giant. Now we must understand. We're talking about normal people. That's the Chokhmah. That's a giantness of the Rambam. That he speaks to normal people like us. If you want to keep healthy, those that want to become giant in religion, it's a different. Let's just finish that. So we said that the person should sleep 8 hours. And how should he sleep? Lo yishan adam al panav. The person should not sleep on his face. Velo al orpo, ela al tzido. A person should not sleep on his face or on his neck. He should sleep on his side. Why? You know why? Huh? David said the right side. Left side. Right side. Any? Huh? Left side. Okay. So that's a mahloket. We have a mahloket rishonim here, but we're going to solve it. So first of all, a person not allowed to sleep on his face. We know why. Haz v'shalom. He can call. He can Suffocate. Not on his neck, why?
Also did suffocate.
Besides snoring, I agree with you on snoring. There's one more thing. That lo aleinu, a person can waste his sperm. You know that if you sleep on your back, there's more chance. Now, you say right. They say left.
I say right.
You say right. David also agree with you. So I'll tell you how. So the Rambam said, listen what he said. Bethilat alayla al tzatmol. The beginning of the night on the left. The beginning of the night. ובסוף הלילה על צד ימין. That means at the beginning of the night, you know where is it? Until midnight. After midnight, you can go to the right. Why? Why on the left? Rabotai, it's not for nothing, he said. Digestion. You remember we spoke why? Because the liver is sitting on the stomach, warming up the stomach. So the juices can start working, the acid inside the stomach can work harder. Let's just finish.
What happens if you go to bed?
ולא יישן סמוך לאכילה. A person should not sleep straight after eating. אלא ימתין אחר האכילה כמו 3-4 שעות ולא יישן ביום. That means after a person finished to eat, he should rest for 3-4 hours and then go to sleep. Why? Because the food can't digest it. And he said that it's not good to sleep during the day.
During the day.
During the day, a person should not sleep.
Nothing wrong with that dream.
Nothing wrong?
With that dream.
For the devil.
No,